So yeah, as Isam said, I'll be going over lean manufacturing. Um, I'm not an expert on it, but I am a mechanical engineer at a company called Lippert Components and have helped out with a lot of our lean projects. And I generally just try to instill a lean thinking philosophy throughout the whole company. And I think that's one of the main goals of lean long term is to be able to get everyone thinking with this mindset to improve efficiency and reduce waste. And so first I'll be going over what is lean manufacturing, and then how can lean manufacturing use BoardX, and how can we in BoardX use lean manufacturing. So lean manufacturing in general is a production method aimed at reducing times within a production system. And some of you may have also heard of it as just-in-time or JIT production. And yeah, basically it's employed by companies all over the world who want to increase efficiency and reduce scrap and inventory and eventually get to one-piece flow where they have their systems tuned so perfectly that they don't have any excess inventory sitting in their warehouses. And they can just go piece by piece down the lines, building one thing at a time in the exact amount of time it takes to build that one piece. And lean in general is like an overarching name or philosophy for many different components or tools that I'll talk about in a little bit. And it's basically, yeah, as I said before, they only want to receive as many goods as they need for the production process. But the downside of that is that it requires a really accurate forecast on demand and good communication with their customers. And sometimes that's very hard to do, especially I know with my company, we've had a lot of problems with getting inventory in from like China and other foreign countries because shipping's so messed up because of the pandemic. So that's been a big struggle. But still, lean is very useful in working through that. The arrows, oh, these arrows. So for history, Toyota is one of the big founders of lean, and they're the ones that get basically all the credit for first developing lean thinking and lean principles. And that is kind of driven from Japan coming out of World War II. They didn't have a lot of factories or large factories to produce stuff in, and therefore they couldn't follow the current Western mass manufacturing principles where they would just build and stock lots of everything. And so in the 1930s, they developed the Toyota way, specifically Shingo and Ono. They were the big drivers of that. And then in 1988, lean was invented by John Krafchick and later defined in 1996 by James Womack and Daniel Jones. And then at the bottom there, you can see basically the lean structures that Toyota has. Let me try and zoom in. So the two main temples, I guess, or pillars are continuous improvement and respect for your people. And by respecting your people, and it helps encourage teamwork, and then through that teamwork, they can focus on continuous improvement, challenging themselves to get better. The TPS house is kind of the same thing. It's the Toyota production system. It's basically the same wording or different wording for the same thing. And so those 5 key principles I talked about were value is the first one. So specifying the value desired by your customer. And that leads into the value stream, where you identify the value stream for each product, given the feedback from that customer and providing that value and challenge all the wasted steps. So driving efficiency in reaching that value and reducing all the wasted steps. And then that leads to flow, which is make the product flow continuously through the remaining value added steps. So once you get rid of all that waste, you want to be able to follow one piece flow principles. And then pull, which is introduce pull between all the steps where continuous flow is possible. So that is more in defining the amount of time it takes to get through those steps and pushing that time to get quicker and quicker. And then perfection is managed towards perfection so that the number of steps and the amount of time and information needed to serve the customer continually falls. And so here are some of the main components of lean and lean philosophy. You may have heard of some of these, and as you'll see later, I point out that we already use some of these in our systems and working in BoardX. So there's 5S, A3 problem solving, which is one that I know we've used. 6 Sigma, which is kind of its own whole structure, but it still falls under the whole lean pyramid. And that one mostly focuses on eliminating waste of skilled workers and underutilizing their capabilities. Takt time is the amount of time it takes to do a specific task, and you want that to be as low as possible, but it also helps define your one piece flow. And like, so if one step is going to take longer than the rest, you have to adjust your takt time so that you don't get a big backlog at that one spot where it takes longer. Then Kaizen and Kanban are some other components. And then here is a little example of kind of the process you might work through when doing like a lean project. So at my company anyways, we usually start with a time study of the production steps. We already have all of our takt times established, but you would establish your base takt time and then try to come up with a goal. And then here is the time study sheet we use, where you would list all the steps they're doing here and then take a bunch of times to find the most repeatable time and the machine cycle times, and then include any notes on why that specific step takes longer, or if there's any other ways you can improve there. And then from that feedback, you would use Six Sigma skills to eliminate any wasted steps. And then going from that, you would study the current floor processes to create a spaghetti diagram and use your feedback from the time study to adjust your floor plan and create a better flow throughout the whole production line. So spaghetti diagram is basically following the movements of workers moving material from one step to the next. And you want that to be as clean and efficient as possible, which basically means as little movement as possible. And then, so how can lean manufacturing use BoardX? As Yusum alluded to earlier, lean is a very visual process. Kanban, spaghetti diagrams, A3s are all use visual presentation. And as we all know, BoardX one of BoardX's main goals and values is being a virtual space where people can collaborate and share and present things. And so BoardX would provide a virtual space where lean team members can build and use all those different lean tools. And then also using BoardX, it allows them to easily share this information with their team and collaborate with production team members. And yeah, so the other thing is it will also allow for better project organization because all these things can be either built on the same board for a specific project or in a room for a specific project. So I know right now, like the way we do it is everyone's kind of having to do all their own local work on Excel or something like that and then share it at a meeting. And BoardX would allow everyone to see where the project's at any given time, include any feedback of their own or um, any other kind of collaboration together. And BoardX can also be used to conduct workshops on lean manufacturing and the philosophy to make sure that all of your production team leaders understand it, and then from there trickle down to the individual worker. Because as I said earlier, one of the main goals of lean is to have every team member constantly thinking about these principles and philosophy, because it all starts with the lowest team member, really. Like um, they're the ones that drive the efficiency, really. And so how does BoardX use lean? Well, we already, in my time here, I've noticed that we use Kanbans and A3s, and I'm sure we also use some Six Sigma, but there's always room to use it more. And then here, I would open it up to you guys to also include any other lean tools or principles you think we do use or could use. But that is pretty much all that I have. And I'll also open it up to questions now.